Kramer is joining us with some advice on navigating it. We always love having you on First Coast Living, and we learned so much with you, so thanks for joining us again.
Well, thanks for having me.
And of course, with the interest rates a little higher, right, than what we saw previously, what can buyers do to get themselves out there in the market right now?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to remember that approximately 35% of all mortgages before this historic low happened with rates in the past few years, approximately 35% of all those mortgages were adjustable rate mortgages.
Okay.
So that allowed buyers to get into the market with a lower interest rate and a lower payment as well.
Right.
So that's an option for people.
Is that an option or a good option for all buyers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really does depend on how long you plan to be in the house.
Okay.
So when you look at the national average, we know people move, say, every 8 to 13 years on average, right? So most people will never pay off that 30-year mortgage. So here they are shopping rates on a 30-year mortgage, knowing they'll never be in the house that long. And my understanding, like from the people I work with and just seeing the timeline of customers coming back to me, it's a lot shorter than that. I mean, most people move, I see, every 3 to 5 years. So when you think about that, it would be good to be in an ARM and get that lower payment, get that lower interest rate, and look at later on if you had to refinance, if you for some reason stayed in there longer. But the odds of that happening are slim for most people. So I really feel like that's a great way to go. And if you think you're a shorter term situation with your home ownership, then you should definitely look into an ARM.
So a 5-year or a 10-year would be better?
Yeah, so depending on what suits your life, but basically ARMs are going to be cheaper than a 30-year mortgage. A 5-year ARM is going to be cheaper than a 10-year ARM. Okay. So if you think that you're more comfortable with the 10-year ARM because you think you could be there that long, go with that one. Okay. But if you know for sure you're going to be less than 5 years in this house, go with the 5-year ARM. You're going to save some money.
Okay. And we were talking earlier, though, let's say something happens, you do the 5 years, and you're like, wait, I am going to stay another 5 years or whatever, and you say to refinance in that situation.
Yes, you would just refinance. There is some cost in doing that, but it's not a terrible cost. And you could do a refinance and then go with another ARM or lock in with a longer term or fixed mortgage if you wanted to at that time.
Okay. And what are some other ways that buyers could consider getting into the housing market? I mean, everything is just so expensive nowadays, but you still say that there's some good options out there. Right?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I get this a lot. Condos, townhouses, attached homes are always cheaper than single-family properties, right? So if you're wanting to get into the real estate market and be a homeowner, buy one of those properties to get you started. At least you own your property. Right. And there's great options with those kind of properties because they make fabulous rental investments. So if you live in your condo a few years and then you decide I'm ready to move on, put a tenant in there on a yearly basis, and then you have your first investment property. And the other option is you're building equity. So why not sell that property in a few years, take the equity and roll it into the house that you really want when you're ready. So it is a stepping stone to get to where you're going.
It can be a little intimidating, of course, if it's your first time, but Maria's got your hand, right?
Yes, exactly.
So what would you say to those, though, who are a little bit hesitant, like I was just saying, and they kind of want to just sit and wait it out and maybe rent?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. And the reason why is consider that everywhere we've had depreciation this year across the country, a little bit. Values have gone down some, not a lot, but some. And so that would make this year a very moderate year in the housing market, a good time to buy a house while things are down a little bit. But the forecast is that equity will start increasing, appreciation will kick back into the market starting in 2024 and beyond. So you're going to pay more a year from now than you will now at this time. So it would be cheaper for you to still, buy a home. And rental rates are not locked in. They're constantly going up and they're historically high right now. So you're not going to save any money sitting on the fence in a rental, paying off someone else's note when you could be in a property paying off your own note and, getting that appreciation next year and the years beyond when it starts kicking back in.
Yep, great advice, as always. Thank you so much for helping us navigate that, of course, because seems like it always is changing.
Yes.
But if someone needs a little bit more help with you, or from you, I should say, how can they get in touch with you?
MariaRaymer.com.
Wonderful, easy enough. Good to see you again, as always.
You too.
And if you'd like to see this interview again, you can head to our website as well.